What's up, troublemakers? I am in Minneapolis, Minnesota at VCon 2022 at US Bank Stadium, trying to bring all this goodness back to the automotive industry. This is a conference around Web 3.0, think blockchain, cryptocurrency, and guess what? At first glance, you might think, oh, it's just a bunch of people having fun. This is a bunch of savvy entrepreneurs learning how to operate in the new world that is upon us. Not only are we talking about consumer experience, transactions, security in a way that I haven't heard at all in automotive. Guess what? It's going to be important to our lives as retailers and as business people and as entrepreneurs. Yeah, there's a lot of fun stuff going on too, a lot of great activations and a lot of great ways to have a conference. Look, I think all of us are sick of the same old conferences in automotive, so I'm going to steal everything I can while I'm here, bring it back to Kyle and the team so we can bring it to you very, very soon. Just wanted to bring some of this energy back to you and let you know that there's going to be a lot more information coming soon. And there's no way automotive should be the trailing indicator. We should be the leading indicator in retail.
Yo, let's start off with going. We talked this early this morning. We're like, we're really ready for Tuesday. Talking about some changes in Europe. Starbucks is out of Russia, and oh, snap. Snap's a little trouble.
Everywhere I go, the people really want to know who I is and who I be. They stop.
I feel like tightening down the hat. I don't know what it is about it, but it's like it just has to be fit in right. Like
it's like adjusting your helmet.
There's an element of grit that's required after hearing and seeing that video and what we are planning, what we're doing, what we're encouraged about around ASOTU and around the automotive industry. And it's just that like, all right, game time. Let's go.
It's like a quarterback, right? They grab their face mask and they just shift it on there right before they take the snap in the morning. We saw our podcast stats this morning, and you were like, somebody found the podcast yesterday. We've had some random days where all of a sudden just hundreds of new downloads hit in one day, meaning someone found it or multiple people found it and then went back and listened to, several episodes at once. And we are again tracking our biggest month ever in the podcast. We're even on last month, we increased podcast listens 20%. And right now with 7 episodes left, we're already even with last month. So I am excited that people are excited about.
Well, I want to thank the listeners, the people that come every single day that either watch or listen to the podcast. Like, it's encouraging just to know that there's someone on the other side saying, hey, there's some valuable information. We love communicating with you. We get a lot of emails. And just encouragement and feedback or questions. We actually got one last week on the email and on the podcast where it was like, hey, I had a thought about something that you said, and I might push back on that, or I might encourage you in this way. And so feel free, email us at crew@asotu.com. We actually read those, we respond to them, and we want to hear about, like, what are your thoughts on what we're talking about? Because a siloed conversation is no conversation at all.
That's
right.
It isn't. It's a echo chamber. That video that you just saw that we played was from my time at VCon last week. We talked about it a little bit yesterday. And we have a tendency, Kyle, to get in trouble when we start talking about what we believe in because
fired up.
Because yes, Eric, we are with you. Strap up and buckle up. He says it's going to be a great Tuesday ride, no doubt. We tend to get in trouble and people ask us to explain what we mean by that. When we have the pushback t-shirt, Liza is like, can you explain what that means a little bit? Right? Because it comes across as aggressive. Actually, I tend not to wear that shirt on when I fly because like, I don't want people to label me as like someone. It's like, I dare you to push me. No, and the pushback mentality is like, hey, there are barbarians at the gate. We need to gather together so that we can kind of lean in as a group and move forward. Right. It's not necessarily pushback. It's like, let's not get pushed around by these market forces. Let's instead resolve to do good together and move forward. So in that last video, when, I'm like, I think everyone's sick of the same old automotive conferences. What we mean by that is tired, right? Like getting a little bored. It's getting a little stale, right? It's been the same way for 20 years, maybe more than 20 years. And our hope in changing it up and bringing ASOTUCon to the table and like trying to expand everybody's horizons, meaning that if you do run another conference, did you hear that system noise? No. Good. I'm all self-conscious now. But if you do run another conference, it's not our intention to like crap on you. It's our intention to call you forward and saying like, make yours better.
Right. Yeah, because we can't. We can
let's
only
just
fit
say we get
700
at ours.
700 people at one conference. That's only a little bitty part of the industry, right? And so we want everyone to kind of up the. I was thinking about this. I was like, interestingly enough, whenever we get close to a conference, this conversation always stirs up of like, what are you excited about on the conference, right? And everybody always goes like, I want to see this person and this person in the keynote or in the breakout session. I love Kevin Fry. Everyone's like, I always love Kevin Fry. We love Kevin Fry.
We do.
And Kevin Fry's coming to ASOTU Con, right?
I don't know if you knew, but he's a diamond medallion holder. He's going to
naturally
laugh forever if he hears that. Go ahead.
But what always comes back to is like, well, I love just being around the people and seeing the people. And that's what I really go to these things for engagement, for the night after party or all that type of stuff. We're starting to think through like, what if people actually wanted to be at the event? What if it was like, no, I don't want to do lunch over there. I want to be over here.
Something just I don't want to feel right about this.
Yeah. Right. So that's what we're trying to spark and encourage is like, no, what if people actually wanted to stay at the thing, that there was so much engagement and activation and
it provided all the other stuff.
Yes, exactly.
Yep. Well, that's what we're working on. And by the way, we have like 30 calls lined up this week with potential collaborators. By the way, we're done with sponsors. No sponsors at this event.
We don't let them
How are you going to put that on? It sounds really expensive. It is going to be really expensive. But we're looking for collaborators. We're looking for people who are willing to throw in their ideas and their energy and not just pay for their name on a banner or just pay to just stand there behind their table and say, can I scan your badge? Right? Like, no, we don't want any of those people. No. And if you're tired of being those people, then it's time to be different people. So we have 30 calls lined up this week with potential collaborators, industry partners that are like, yeah, we feel the same way you do. We're ready to throw down. Let's get to it. If you want to be a collaborator, again, hit us with the email at crew@asotu.com. And hey, maybe there's a spot for you. Okay, that's enough. We're so excited.
We're so excited. I don't know if you can tell, but we're excited.
Yesterday was a day for us when Kyle said to me this morning on our first call, he's like, I don't want to have days like yesterday as much as possible. Right. And the reason he said that is because some days, like to use Gary Vaynerchuk's language, it's clouds and dirt. Clouds, vision. This is what we're doing. This is where we're heading. Dirt. This is what we have to do to get there. And it was like, man, yesterday we were just all up in the dirt.
All up in the dirt. It was like blocking and tackling, task management, like people management.
HR, yeah.
All of that's necessary, right? And everybody knows that about their business, that all of those things are necessary about doing business and we have to do them. But sometimes they can feel just like, yep, checked off a task. Yep, decided on what holidays we're going to be off as a company, right? And it's like, yeah, we have to do those things, but for visionaries, for entrepreneurs, there's this like, I have to go forward more. And so, we're just
talking about that vision, right? That stuff drains unless you know where it's heading. So, like everyone's got that stuff. Let's talk about a little bit of news.
Let's get into it.
Oh, you sent me this link. Why don't you kick off this one?
I got this message like 3 times yesterday, and then Steve Greenfield posted it. And I think actually a little over a week ago, Brian Benstock was coming back from Europe and kind of gave some insight into that this was happening. But Mercedes has actually come out and stated that they are going to be cutting dealerships worldwide. So 10% worldwide and 20% specifically in Germany, which they're a German automaker, obviously. And they are looking to go with with fewer large showrooms. So going more delivery mindset. They actually have said like they want to go agency model over franchise model. So if you know what agency model is, it's really how like brands like Apple implement their distribution strategy. So you get the product, you get a flat fee, you have standardized pricing. So here's your pricing, here's the dollar amount you get per sale. And then you have to execute the delivery model. And what's interesting is that the agency model still exercises the after sales, so service experience in that agency. So there's still a necessity for some level of grassroots or ground level community impact, but it takes away that franchise level impact. And so the OEM is actually doing the transaction. And so Mercedes is saying like worldwide, we're pressing into that, which is concerning, but also an encouragement to dealers to be heads up about the way that your business is operating, right?
So
There's a lot there, by the way. We could talk about this for 20 more minutes.
We could unpack that for an hour for sure. The element, I mean, obviously European laws are a lot different. Regulatory like it's all different in Europe, which is why Europe has always been kind of like, oh, that couldn't happen here. Right, because of the way laws are made, and like that's true, right? There's a lot of different legislative process, different laws in place as it is more protections. However,
and lobbying and NADA
for sure
being active in the political landscape,
really advocating for the dealers. But this is definitely something to look at and as an indicator on like what things could come across the table, what ideas and thoughts could come across the table. Because even when you start thinking about the give and take, when I this is the first time I've ever like thought through the agency model in automotive. I was just like, okay, well, the OEM owns the inventory. Okay. You know what I mean? Like there's certain things that seem like they would get a lot more efficient if all of a sudden the OEM has a vested interest in you only having the right inventory on the lots or being able to move inventory around. So I'm just starting to think of like, okay, there's probably going to be some level of implementation of some of these thoughts and ideas and some iteration in the US at some point. So for me, it got me thinking around like, okay, let's not demonize everything. Let's be open-minded and just think about what elements could be borrowed, right? Could be hybrid implemented. So obviously very different. I think like Mercedes saying this, they do understand something very clear is that direct connection with the consumer is incredibly important. They actually said it in the interview. They said, this will increase our direct connection with the consumer, meaning we will understand them better, right? And so when we tie that back to U.S. industry, it's like no one understands their consumer better than dealers at the ground level. Again, that is the advantage. That will always be the advantage. Don't let that skip by you.
That's the encouragement. Don't let it skip by you, because if you just think that like doing transactions and being done with it is gonna keep you afloat, like you have to maintain customer relations, life cycle management of a customer, and understand your community at a very, very in-depth level. So being involved in community activities, in chambers, in all of that type of chambers of commerce, and understanding the way that your community lives, operates, and breathes and integrates within your business is absolutely necessary for you being a viable part of the distribution network of the OEMs.
Never, what do they say? Never outsource your core competency.
There you go.
That should be your core competency.
Yep.
I think across the board, every dealer, and that should be your core competency. Yeah. Got a little global news. So we're staying in Europe for a minute, or over across the pond for a minute. So Starbucks just announced that they are pulling out of Russia. They opened their first of 130 stores way back in 2007. And they've just, decided, like a lot of companies, similar like to McDonald's, to say, hey, we're going to pull our business out of Russia because of what's going on and how it's going on. They did, however, say that of our 2,000 employees, they call them partners, 2,000 partners, they are going to, after they officially pull out, they are going to continue to pay them for 6 months to give them time to transition and find something else. So some other companies are divesting as well and considering pulling out, like names like, Marriott, that would be a huge one. Burger King, Yum Brands, which is like Taco Bell, Pizza Hut, KFC, all the health food. Yeah, I've heard people say like Russians are about to become the healthiest population on the planet.
Well, what's actually interesting about like Burger King, McDonald's, and Yum Brands, they actually have healthier foods worldwide than they do in the US. So if you ever do anything,
do they really?
Yeah, it's pretty wild. Yeah, like you go eat a McDonald's burger in Asia, and you're actually getting one of the healthiest burgers you can get. I know.
Well, I didn't know that. Well,
nuts.
Well, look, I think that, we don't have to spend too much time on this story. We just like to keep our head up what's going on in retail and across the world. Our takeaway for this is that basically, look, businesses change. Business decisions have to be made. If you're in a dealer, an industry partner, sometimes you have to move people around. Sometimes you close departments. Sometimes you shift, right? But that doesn't mean you can't always take care of people, treat them with dignity. Go and dig a little deeper to see how you can help them transition, because I guarantee you everybody else in your organization is always watching. And you can do a lot for your company culture by letting people know that they'll never be surprised without being completely taken care of.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Care for your people, and they'll care for your business.
I see a trend in today's stories. So next story. A lot of auto dealers advertise on Snapchat, right? Owned by Snap Inc. They issued a revenue warning saying it's not going to be as good as we thought it was going to be, and that sent kind of everybody into a tizzy. No one knows exactly what is actually going to be the result of that. But just last month, they were like, "Yeah, we're pretty confident we're going to see a 20 to 25% growth, which is sizable."
Right.
And they're like, whoa. Just a month later, they're like, things changed. They adjusted their EBITDA. Their shares fell 31% and kind of drug down Alphabet and Amazon and Facebook and everybody kind of blamed Snap for this. They quoted the CEO. I don't have his name in here. It says, like many companies, we continue to face rising inflation and interest rates. Everyone's dealing with that. Supply chain shortages. I don't fully understand how that applies to Snap. And labor disruptions, platform policy changes, and the impact of the war in Ukraine. It sounds like they just kind of read the newspaper.
I think they read the newspaper, put a bulleted list together, and then explained away.
Supply chain shortages.
Their sales team is bad, right?
Yeah, right.
Let's just be honest. Let's tell them what really is happening right now.
I mean, they could. I guess I'm thinking about it a little more. Right, the people who advertise, definitely their company. If there's nothing to sell or no revenue, maybe that's what they're kind of citing indirectly. But they just kind of like balled it all up in one thing. And like, it's all this stuff.
Yesterday. Let me just throw this out here. Let me just throw this out.
Be good. I can already see this. This is like an Instagram reel in the making. Go ahead.
Because here's the thing. Back when the pandemic started, it was like all of this fear of like nothing's gonna happen, nobody's gonna buy anything, everything's crashing to the ground. And like a month later, we were like, come on, man. Like, let's do a thing, right? And all of a sudden, the automotive industry is like kicked full high year.
Better than ever, right?
We've been talking about this, like recession might coming, inflation going up, taxes not coming back like they thought they would for about a month and a half now.
Yep.
What if we all just said, you know what? Like, what if every company in the world was just like, why are we listening to the news again? Because they did this 2 years. Why don't we just like press go on the gas
and just see what happens?
Keep
our heads up and react to the game.
Because I think it might be really good if we did that. Like, let the private sector and commerce and retail drive the economy like it should, instead of like fear mongering. I'm just look.
Well, okay. Yeah. I mean,
I'm going to go too far here. But
there's a printing of money issue. Let's be honest. We all know where inflation comes from. Really, business and an industry cannot create inflation. Only the government can create inflation. Period. Because they're the ones that print money. So that's hard to get away from. But I fully agree with you. If we stopped as a society at large paying so much attention to the news and the narrative, I bet we'd be a lot more successful and more happy.
Without a doubt.
But hey, it gives us something to talk about.
There you go.
But we talk about other stuff, right?
Let's talk about one more fun thing. Let's talk about thing.
We have this called New Font Who Dis. we should that'd be great if there was enough of this news. We could do a segment called New Font Who Dis.
Right. Yeah.
But Instagram, our beloved Instagram, just released a brand refresh yesterday. You can click through it in the show notes. It's fun to look at it, but they're introducing a new font called Instagram Sans, right? So there's no more of this like an Instagram reel looking just like a TikTok reel because everybody uses the same font. It's an interesting font. I put it back on the screen for a second, Isaac.
It really is.
This is an interesting font. You look at these letters and it's a mix of what a designer would call pixel perfect design, right? It's not hand drawn. It's very, smooth and consistent, but it's also has hand drawn elements. And
it's interesting. They do it like in the P and the O and it's very interesting to kind of, it like shocks your brain just a little bit and like, wait, what am I looking at in that letter or that, or in that level? I mean, it's a very interesting font, and it's a little bit, actually we were talking about this yesterday, how a lot of new design coming out is very like, how do we match whimsy with professional? And I think that they're trying to strike that balance.
That is a good, yes. I didn't make that connection. Even some of the letters, if you look at it a little closer, they actually connect, right? Like there'll be two O's or an R and an E, and they'll connect. I mean, we'll see, right? The public has really an opportunity to shoot this one down if it doesn't like it, because people just won't use it. But I think it's a cool way to distinguish what you're looking at. I think it's a pretty clever play. Instagram also talked about a few other things in their brand refresh. They refreshed their gradient in their color scheme to be more vibrant, and all their marketing is going to be very creator centric, right? So you're talking full screen images with minimalist, simple design over it to highlight the self-expression that can be part of the platform.
I think it's smart. It goes back to their roots and says, like, we're going to set ourselves apart based on the originality of creators, because, there are multiple platforms that have taken and from their initial kind of core and exploded from it. And I think them going back to core is going to engage like the right people to be creating on the platform.
I love it. I love the pivoting and the shifting. Don't count them out. Don't count us out. Don't count automotive out. This is Don't Count Them Out Tuesday. We just rebranded it. Hey, whatever it is, you know that you get to control the things you can control. So don't listen to the news and all that. Just care for people.